existing implementation, we have done that API definitions and then API lookup with the documentation and with our knowledge. We created Python APIs, and then we invoke the Python using our knowledge and as well as the documentation. Now it becomes harder when we are trying to work on a complex use cases or complex scripting, and then we may not understand what kind of capabilities that we have and what kind of method we have and how we can invoke that methods inside the scripts. That becomes a problem. So that we need a tooling capability for the CBA creation. That is the first motivation for something. So if we get a tooling capability for the CBA, then I can work on any scripting. So even it's a Python or it's a Kotlin, okay, I can get a complete visibility of that, so that it will be very easy for even DSL modeling also, because we already defined DSL completely for all the modeling capabilities, and then we can directly model that entire CBA with the DSL itself. So in that case, we can avoid a lot of complexity. With the edited support, we can get a very good edited support, and easily we can look like what all the methods and the APIs that we have. So that is the reason it should be the part of our development process, and it should be part of our development tooling capability. So that's the reason the first step, it's like we need to include our CBA as part of our build and development capability. So that is necessary for that. And secondly, another important thing right now, what we are trying to do as a manual process, okay, in terms of CBA distribution. So what we develop a CBA with our model or inside our serious designer or handmade product, whatever it's. If we don't use a designer, so we model that CBA and we check in repository, code repository. So we have requirements. One important requirement is like we need to keep track of the model. We need to keep track of the changes happening. So that's the reason it is a part of the model. And another important thing, if there is any break in a CBA, okay, at least from a scripting perspective, then it should be notified properly, okay, so that we can correct it. Sometimes if we want to auto correct it, so then there should be a capability to auto correct that CBA file, okay. So important points. And finally, we need an end-to-end automation. Automatically it should be created and it should be deployed and it should be shared across multiple systems, so not only with respect to serious context. It should be shared across the ASDC or any other application which wants to make use of that, and they can write their own client application with respect to that. So that is the reason there is a necessity of tooling capability and distribution capability for CBA package. So I pass here to take some questions if you have with respect to what the use case is about. Any questions?
Brenda, hi. In reverse order, so shared across multiple systems. Is this something similar to what's done in SDC distribution?
Exactly. But the concept here we are trying to.
How is it different though?
Exactly.
Can we not use the same thing as well?
Let me explain that. Okay. So right now, what's the thing is that we are not trying to overthink a lot, okay, in terms of publishing or exchanging or just providing an event mechanism as ASDC does, because the ASDC is a source system where it can distribute from there to all the applications, including a policy or including all the controllers. But what we are trying to do, it's like we are trying to avoid the manual process of downloading the CBA file using the designer, or manually creating the CBA file in your local desktop, okay, because it is not consistent, right? If you try to do that, then what we are trying to do, it's like we are trying to update in a Maven Central. So during the build process itself, it builds a CBA file, it creates a zip file, and then it uploads to that Maven Central. Now, since it is a build process, it is a consistent, so that even if you want to share that zip file, so you can refer that link directly, that Maven Central repository link directly, or you can directly use you can directly use in SDC of over any inside your process, so that during that SDC creation or SDC particular context creation, you can download that model directly from a Maven Central, and even you can extract it, you can attach it, you can do how you want to do according to that client application nature. Okay, so here the mode of transformation, it's like one thing is like we are trying to maintain a consistency, and then we are trying to make a common repository. We are trying to use a Maven Central repository, the same traditional repository, so that it can be shared across other applications via dependency mechanism, and as well as we are achieving a tooling capability and other capabilities also. Did I answer your question?
Um, somewhat. I'm just learning more about this. So basically, what you're saying is that you want something akin to a jar file, and why does it have to be necessary in, say, in like something like Maven, our Maven repo? Is there can we do things any other way, or that's just an example?
I think it's like a easy one thing, like we can't use a jar because we are not only dealing with only the class files, okay, class files and making as a jar file.
That was my point. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So we are trying to include a templates, models, and then even sometimes we are defining the definitions of license file. Okay, and then so that is zip is a right, sorry, jar is a right format. It's not a right format. That's the reason we defined as CB as a zip file itself altogether by default itself. So that is the reason we are trying to export or build a same fashion how we use in a traditional or current now how we use that CBA file. The same way we are going to use there. That is the reason. Okay, it is configured in a Maven repository. It's a Maven build process, and it is going to place that zip file in a Maven repository, and then we are going to access from that Maven repository using our APIs, or either you can use the dependency management or you can use a curl to download that in your application.
So I have a question. What are you trying to solve here? Is being able to distribute the CBA to external system, or is a way to distribute for CDS?
It's one part. Okay, one part is the distribution, and other part it's like a tooling capability. We want to provide a tooling capability for CBA. Okay, and we want to have a consistent way of building that zip file also. Okay, there are two important things along with the distribution. So mostly the consistent and automated way of building the CBA file from our code repository, and as well as the tooling capability, so that it can understand that what is the dependencies, and then I can modify the dependencies, and I can manage that what CBA should have and what not. Okay, I can manage the CBA file in an automated way, not in a manual way, in an automated way. And then along with the distribution, it's like least priority for us. It's like since we achieve these two things, then distribution, it's like why can't we use the distribution? Okay, in that way.
Okay, so my question revolve around what do you mean by distribution in this context? Because right now we do have a kind of distribution, which is the upload, which push the CBA to the blueprint processor, and then we can execute, right? Are you
I'm not
talking about that process, or it's completely something different?
No, I'm not talking that process actually. Okay, I'm talking a process outside of our serious application. Okay. Say for an example, in a SDC template or SDC model, overall model, you want to attach the CBA zip file, right?
Yeah.
So you want to place the zip file there. So how we are trying to do right now, we are trying to download that zip file from our designer UI, and then we are creating the zip file either from manually or locally, and then we are trying to go to that SDC, and then we are trying to attach that. Is that the same process, or it's a different process?
It's a different
process. We have a pipeline.
Right. So Bell has probably a different pipeline, but in general, the ONAP pipeline is using a manual approach.
Exactly.
And what this allows us to do is come up with a standard approach across all organizations to make the CBA available, so that you can select it for that resource within the SDC and then distribute it. Right. You don't need to handle it manually. That's a huge benefit.
Yeah, so that my understanding of how the whole process should work in ONAP is that we have a CBA that we kind of onboard inside SDC, and then it gets distributed, right?
Right, but
That's where we want to go, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
yes,
That we are
yes.
not changing the process.
It's the same process. The only thing that's different is that the user doesn't need to download the CBA package manually and then go to SDC and manually import that zip. That zip package will be available as part of the SDC catalog for CBAs because they can interface with this Maven itself.
Okay. Let's say I go through the design process. Okay, so we use the CDS UI to do the design, and then we push it to CDS, right? And then
yes.
we need a way to add this CBA into the SDC catalog, so that when you go in SDC to do your modeling, then you just pick the CBA that was distributed to SDC catalog.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's what we're okay. Okay, thank you.
Exactly. And one process, it's like one process that we have. It's like from CDS UI to Git submission. So that we haven't decided till now. So that process is missing. Right now we are fixing the problem from Git to Maven Central. Okay, because right now UI is not ready up to that. Right now, the assumption it's like whatever you model in CBA, whatever you model a CBA file, it will go to the Git repository, and then automatic build will happen. That will build that CBA file, and it uploads to that Maven Central by default. So anybody can refer from that. So we are trying to fix that one end of the problem. Till another end of the problem from UI to Git, it's still missing. We want to implement that.
So why don't we have can we have a process in CDS UI to publish to
We need to define
SDC
the
catalog
process.
or something?
Yeah, we need to define the process.
Because I'm not too sure I understand the why do we need a POM file and actually do a build of the code to push the CBA to SDC?
Exactly.
It feels wrong a little bit, no? In the process, I mean, we don't want to have to do a Maven install to push an artifact, right? It needs to be transparent, no?
Guys, worst of all, just a small comment is that why are we tying to a specific solution versus just the general concept of having some place to put a file? Like, I do not like adding more dependency on Maven here. It's not quite the best idea, I think.
Okay, I think it's opinion differs. Okay, let me explain that. First thing, it's like distribution. It's a third option. Okay, the first two options is a major option, the tooling capability, and then the particular CBA dependency and providing it effective coding. It's a development process of the particular CBA. So without dependency and without adding that proper dependency to the CBA, I think we can't achieve the tooling capability. So there is no other way to achieve the tooling capability first. Okay, please let me know if you have any other way that we can achieve that tooling capability, or I can understand the script, or I can write a script effectively with the dependency, or what are the components that I can include, and then how I want to build that, the zip file, and what are the piece of components I want to ignore and then I want to include. Okay, so that kind of management. Okay, how is there any other way other than that, the known existing way of handling them just by including a one POM file to that? So we could achieve all those things.
I have a question. Why can't we use the CDS DB? Why do we need to use Maven
Exactly.
repo for that?
Exactly. So CDS DB is just intermediate solution which doesn't, okay, which is not that entire record, which is not going to keep track of what we have changed, and then it doesn't provide a very good view of what all the versions changes and then who modified and all those informations. Okay, DB is not the right solution. That's the reason we are having a code cloud and then Git repository. So we are dealing with a lot of scripts, a lot of models, and so many people are going to interact with that, and then we need to manage, we need to have a change management configuration. So that DB perspective, it's like just the final end product. Okay, just it is going to keep that end product or end CBA model, and it is easy to handle and interact between their applications. That's the reason. Okay, so but other than that management perspective of the CBA, database is not the right solution, okay, and we need to have a certification process. We need to understand so many things. That's the reason we need at least code cloud kind of management system, so where we can closely keep track of what changed and what who changed and history of that.
So you're working from the UI perspective down. I assume that's where this is coming from, right?
Yeah, from UI we are trying to work on that, and then if there is any change or release versions that we are trying to do, not only to the database, okay, database may go at any point of time. So first thing, it's like we are trying to push to the Git repository, okay, and each and every time it checks the stability of that. If you try to push it to that database, we don't have the proper check mechanism and auto migration mechanism, and then compilation, whether it's scripts are all up to date and then compiling properly. That kind of facilities I can't achieve from database. So that I can easily achieve from Maven and Git. So it checks, it validates, and then it keeps track of that. And finally, during that execution or image creation, okay, we are trying to take the zip of that and then trying to upload along with the Docker images, or we can manage it separately and we can come again once again, and then we can take a particular version from that Maven Central and then we can rework on that. So it provides a lot of flexibility. Okay, I'm just putting a open-ended usage for that. So whatever we want to achieve, it's like we want to achieve or keep track of that information, who modified, who changed, and as well as the certified. Only that particular version has to go, and it should not be driven by user. It should be driven by control system and control automation and consistency throughout the place. That is the point we want.
And why Git cannot do this?
Why? Why? I don't know what issue.
No, sorry. My question is like you wanted to basically, if I understand you correctly, you wanted to make artifacts, push them into Maven, and then have dependency on artifacts, and that would allow you to basically drive, saying, hey, I have package X, it needs packages A, B, C, then that in exchange would get it.
Exactly.
And you're basically saying that, okay, I want to leverage the existing build tool to build my CBAs, and for that to work, I need a Maven setup. That's basically what you're saying.
Exactly. And along with that future use case of a serverless function, we are trying towards a serverless functions. In that case, if you try to define a CBA file, and then with the deployments, POMs, and then it auto creates a Docker image for you. Okay, and then it is going to be a serverless function later point of time. But I'm trying to drive that level.
Okay, interesting. I have to read more about serverless stuff, so I cannot really comment. But okay, at least I'm understanding what you're saying.
So let me explain that how it's very simple. Okay, it is not mandatory inside your organization. Still, you can keep doing that existing thing. We are not changing that any of the process. Just we are trying to add only one POM file inside that, and it's up to that organization to use that or not, or even you can skip that, or you can delete that particular thing. Okay, let me share my screen. I think we are already there. So if you try to look into that, think about like we have a blueprint model, and then it's assume that this is a component. It's a catalog. Anyhow, inside your organization, you may have a different catalogs, right? With respect to services, with respect to mobility, or with respect to particular services, you may have a different catalogs and different teams working on that particular catalogs and models, right? So right now it is attached in that one app. It's a common because it is it's a one app. It's not a secret source, right? So we have the components under that we have. It's like a bill. It is attached to that. So this is going to be a separate bill with respect to different teams. And then we have a model catalogs. Inside the model catalogs, we are having I'm not integrating that service right now. Okay, just for showcasing this capability. So we have a test blueprint. So if you try to look into that, I don't want to include anything. So if a particular team wants to work on CBA files, that team directly go to that, take that code from the source cloud, okay? Because I'm trying to say that designer, it's not only the interface to interact with the CDS to create the model. What I'm trying to say, it's like once you are familiarized with the CDS and the modeling concept, you may hate a designer. You may love to write a code instead of designing that. Okay, because you have a better control, you know what you're trying to do, and then you can achieve so many things, so many complex things in a very easy fashion. Just not now. Once your experience level and the learning levels about the CDS grows further, then definitely you may hate the designer. So you may love to do it in a editor mode or a code mode perspective. So in that case, what the thing is, directly I can come to that any model. Okay, I can go to that code cloud and check out that current model. What happens? Think about like, so in that case, you don't want to include everything. Only I can open one editor and then just download that model, download that CBA. And here I have attached that one POM, right? So this POM, think about like for capability CLI, I am going to work on particular capability and only I need only a CLI capability. It's like not anymore. So just I'm trying to manage only the CLI executor, not functions. Okay, so in that way you can manage the functions. You don't want to include all the functions for a particular CBA file. Only one function, certain functions, what are the functions or what are the capability that you need, you can define that and directly go to that scripts. Okay, assume that we have a scripts, directly go to the scripts and use that complete editor capability. So in this case, you can use the editor capability completely. So here I can have editor completely. Even I can look at what it is trying to do. I can define that model DSL. One good aspect is like you can model it entire CBA in a DSL. So whatever we are trying to do it in 1,000 and 2,000 lines of code and even multiple lines of code, I could achieve the same thing in a matter of not more than, it's like if you try to look into that, 50 lines of code, I could achieve that entire model, right? What are the model right now we are trying to do?
Brenda, the DSL stuff is really cool. I really think this should be the default way of teaching clients how to make a service, because this is actually a lot more usable and more user friendly.
Exactly. That is the point I'm trying to bring. Okay, once you get experience on that CDS and if you know that models, then DSL is the best thing for you to achieve. Okay, and along with that, I have a scripts also. So scripts. So this is a script, right? So I can write a script and then I know that what is inside that. Okay, if I click on that, I know that what is there and what is that entire process itself. So in that case, I don't want to rely on documentation. The finally end of the day, what I'm trying to achieve here, it's like I am trying to give a tooling capability of the CBA file. Along with that, I am trying to give the capability of a build process, auto migration, auto correction, even code management, all those functionalities I'm trying to give that. And along with the distribution. Distribution, it's like if you feel that you have a different process and pipeline, you can use a different process. But what I'm trying to say, it's like once the build is successful, it will go to the Maven Central repository and it is easy to share, or even I can create the CBA. Suppose, as I explained earlier, suppose I want to create a service only with respect to the particular CBA file, okay, not with a group of CBA files. Suppose if I define a CBA model for virtual firewall use case, and I want to create a Docker instance only for virtual firewall, not more than that. Okay, in that case, during that application, so what I will do, I will create an application here, firewall application, which includes a Docker image, okay, which includes only the dependency management, and I will include this CBA file also, so that I can avoid a lot of complexity there in terms of distribution. So now the container is specific to virtual firewall, okay, and particular image, I can create a virtual firewall image. I can spin up that image, I can scale that image, virtual firewall image separately.
Brenda, sorry, I just a small pause here. So your intention is to have pre-built images with specific CBAs. Is that where you're going?
Exactly. It is not mandatory. Certain use cases we need that.
Okay, so
it's very restrictive, isn't it? Is that why you guys want to use it? I feel like it's so restrictive, because that means if you make a typo in the CBA, then you have to rebuild, go to the build process,
you have to rebuild and deploy and take downtime. That's just wrong.
No, it is not wrong. Okay, so that's the reason we have a test environment. In production, we are not going to change that. Okay, that assumption is very clear. In test environment, think about like I want to do that. Okay, I'm trying to give on process level how I'm going to achieve that, right? So let me start that on application. Think about like let me start. So I have an application. Okay, assume that it is running in a remote. Okay, this application is running in a remote. Okay. Now what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to create this this package. Okay. So in this case, assume that even it may be right now for simplicity perspective, you can modify the scripts also. Let me modify the scripts. Okay. Here's the definition. Okay. Just I'm modifying that. Assume that we are trying to modify that. Okay. Now in that editor mode, so what I'm trying to say, I'm trying to build here itself the zip. Even I'm not going to manual process of zip creation. Okay. So I'm trying to create a zip here. Clear? And then it has all the lints capabilities and then code check, quality check, okay, vulnerability checks, all those things there. Okay, not only the CBA. Right now we don't have anything. Until unless if we attach to that Maven, we are not going to get that all those checks. Okay, and then assume that so this is a server. Okay, I am trying to work on the server directly. So what I am trying to do, I am trying to upload that file. Okay, so see here, I am just trying to mark this place, so I can upload this zip file, and then yeah, I uploaded that file. We are achieving still same dynamicity. I can modify the code, I can upload it, and then I can test it. You could see that. So what I'm trying to explain is here, code editor. Code editor, if I'm experienced person in CDS, I can write a model, I can write a definite scripts here, okay? Because in UI designer doesn't provide a tooling capability, okay, for script modification, script additions, and all those things. So this is not for all kind of users. Just I'm trying to say that this use case, what we are trying to achieve, is for experienced user, and as well as who wants to handle a dynamic, complex capabilities. Okay. So in that case, what I'm trying to showcase here, it's like I can modify, I can build the entire CBA in a consistent way, and then I can, if I try to integrate with that build, okay, only that just by adding the POM file, I get that all the capabilities, the DSL formatting, DSL capabilities, and the linting and the formatting issues, compilation issues. I don't want to check inside the server, just uploading and then check that is there any compilation error or not. Here itself, I can check the compilation error completely. And another important thing, already we have discussed the test cases also. So we can define one more test folder here. You can write your JNU test cases here itself, and then you can test it in locally also, the particular CBA file. Okay, and then once you are successful, then you can upload that CBA package directly to that environment. So in this way, we could achieve the fastness, agility. Okay, mostly I'm trying to look into that agility and the complex creation and as well as consistency management. Okay.
Oh, okay, Brenda. So you're basically saying that you're still running, you're running your blueprint processor and you're still uploading something to it, and we saw it overwrite. So that it's just I was concerned that you would lose that ability to dynamically update something that
exactly, and local setup also. You can have your own local setup, and then you can test it. Yeah, testing also.
Yeah.
Testing capability.
I think the only issue we see internally is the fact that for us, people that writes the CBA are not developer, and they certainly do not have the CDS project inside their own machine to execute a POM file the way you did. So I think
Exactly.
that's why we have a kind of very different
Exactly.
on how to
I
use
understand the current issue, but that is not the case in future. That is the point I'm trying to bring. Okay. So without understanding, without writing, okay, try to think about like the cloud management, network management, the Kubernetes files. First, right now, you can't, earlier it's like just by looking at only, oh man, I want to manage only these 2 containers. That was very difficult. And after then, they came up with the templating, the HEMS and then values.xml templating mechanism and a lot of logics. Slowly, we are in position of managing multiple containers and the DevOps, okay, it is not achieved by very easily, okay. So I believe even in 5G use cases you want to, and IoT use cases you want to deal with programmatic knowledge, at least any programmatic knowledge, even Python or networking, or even I do see that a lot of programming knowledge, right? If you try to, or if you try to connect multiple systems and try to configure, okay, you want to handle with XMLs, you want to handle with the data.
Yeah, for sure. You need programming background, right, to do the CBA. That's for sure.
Minimal. Whatever I'm trying to show here, it's like only the API lookup. Okay, I'm not going to write in the script. It's like a huge. Why? Because the capability will be developed by the developers. Okay, but the script, it's not. It is going to develop by the network engineers. So writing that, connecting that, mashing the templates and orchestrating. It's the same, right? The Python, writing the Python, whatever we have, right? Just I'm explaining in a Kotlin way, but the same thing. Only the piece of logic, whatever the logic here, it is there. It is not a complex logic. It is just nothing but the orchestration logic in a coding fashion, so that I can get a better control of a transaction. Okay, that is the point. That is the thing that we are trying to use that. Okay, in the actual definition. And as I explained that, this is the model. This model, definitely the modeling capability will know that. So it means like what I'm trying to explain, it's a clear, only the line of separation. Okay, only the assumption only. The CBA creation or whatever the coding needed for the CBA, it's very, very minimal and just to look up, API lookup and orchestrating that API. That's it. And capability development is a completely altogether. Capability development is a completely developer's job, right? That's the reason I'm trying to say that this repo is completely different. It is managed by the different set of people, system engineers or network engineers, this model catalog. This processor and capabilities and functions will be managed by the different kind of team. Okay, that team is called developers.
Brinda, I have one query here. So if we develop a script, I mean, if I'm going to write a script which is going to interact with the components inside, so is it mandatory to write that POM file, or like before only we can do it? I assume this POM file is only for editing purpose. Is it for any other purpose also?
No, it's absolutely, you are right. It is just for editing purpose and then gives the capability of editing capability. That's it.
And it can also
like
do linting, right?
Sorry?
And it can also do linting and running tests. That's
exactly. You can do whatever you want, but minimal requirement. It's like editing capability, the tooling capability for the designer at least.
So if I don't have the POM file, will it cause a problem? Because earlier we never had a POM file, right? So
but
if I don't have it, will it cause?
And exactly, that's what. Let me explain that. So earlier, how we use that? You used with that knowledge, right? You know that what is that API. Okay, so you created the file in a simple text file. Assumption, it's like you are creating a text file, right? So you defined in a text file. Finally, end of the day, it is going to compile. Okay, inside the server, it is going to compile. So by introducing the POM here, you are trying to get a tooling capability. That is the point I'm trying to say. If I delete this POM,
I understand, because I remember I write Kotlin code inside the CDS code and then I used to transfer it to the CBA file. So I know that there is a difficulty there. But is this POM file going to be a mandatory one, or it's
no.
It's
if you want to manage,
that's
the reason I'm trying to keep that. See here, base config, I'm not having a POM file. Why? Because here I'm not dealing with the DSLs and the complex scripting. Okay, so you can also still manage that. If you attach the POM file, what advantage that you are going to get? It's like you are going to get editing capability, auto assist, all kind of management, and even you can check that vulnerabilities inside the code. Okay, another important thing, maybe I'm not sure other organizations they have that or not. Okay, the code vulnerability. Okay, so until unless if you are not integrating with the bill, and if you are going to treat all the files as a simple text file or any other content, then the code vulnerability, you are not going to check that. So we need that one more functionality called code vulnerability. So in that case, if we introduce in a build, then automatically it has a security violations. It can give all kind of information. Okay, security threats and all. We are, at least I am more bothered about the security violations. Okay, so that is the reason we want to have some mechanism to avoid the security violations. If you treat as a text file, you can't detect that. That is another issue. Okay, I think I answered most of the points, right? So what is the necessity for this? Okay.
It's a good one because
Yeah, this-
I used to always integrate this inside our CDS component and then develop it and then migrate it. So it's a good one.
Exactly. So now with this, no, you don't need to bother about. Only thing is you can manage the dependencies also. Yeah, just include that dependency. If you try to link it to that, one important thing is like just you want to import a important thing called parent CBA. Either you can have it. It is up to your organization where you want to include. Only the requirement is like you want to import the parent CBA parent, which has all the dependencies versions. And another important thing is like another important thing is maybe it's like too early to explain. The versioning of the CBA. Okay, so each releases it should have the proper versioning, right? Say for an example, I don't want to recreate multiple versions. Okay, at the same time I want to keep a pace with the releases. Okay, the releases should go with the corresponding versions. Okay, so in that case, I can model the version of the CBA along with that package release version also, or along with that CDS version also. So in that case, I keep a consistency of the code and the CBA along with that, so that it can go hand in hand, and then we won't get a lot of issues in runtime, and then we don't need to panic at the time. Yeah, that is another. Maybe it's too early to understand. Okay, I will talk that later point of time. So even that templating and the model versions should align with that CBA version. So in that case, it is very easy to manage. Okay, so if I want to call that Frankfurt of CBA particular version, I can call from Frankfurt of the CBA version from any application, SDC or any other, just by knowing what is the CDS version, so that the CDS version and model will go hand in hand. Okay, I believe I explained so many things. Okay, that simple point here, it's like by introducing a one POM file here, it solves all your complexity in terms of editing and tooling perspective. That's all I have. Any questions to me?
And that's good. A lot to review. Thank you, Brenda.